TBD. Today we are going to unpot some orchids and see what's going on in the pots. Now these are some iffy orchids and they are some that we have seen in the last 2 update videos that I've done. So these are some orchids that haven't done so well since my return from holidays. So generally they have been orchids that have been struggling anyway. They've declined further since I've been gone. So I'll show them to you if you haven't watched the other videos. The first one is this Phalaenopsis, which is an ID. Named her Gladys. Upon my return, I did find that some of the middle leaves were dying off, and you can see that there is something nasty going on there. So we're going to take that out of the pot and see what's going on. The second one is this Paphiopedilum, and this is Paphiopedilum vietnamese crossed with Delenatii. I think it's also known as Paphiopedilum. And this has been on a downward spiral since like maybe October last year, and now that I'm back I have discovered that it is super loose in the pot. And if any of you have had experiences with rootless Paphiopedilums, you'll know how difficult they are to recover. I feel like I'm going to take this out of the pot, we'll have a look at it, but I feel like it is destined for orchid heaven. It's probably going to go in the bin. The other two are this one, which is a Cattleya. This is Cattleya Intermedia variation Amethyst Dena, and look, it's been in this pot for maybe like it's over a year. It's just in a bad mix. It's in a bad quality mix. It's in an old mix that I used to use before I found the better quality stuff that I do use now. It's never grown a good root system, and it's definitely struggling with pests. So you can see signs of scale, but can you see that? Like that, it obviously doesn't look right. So yeah, this needs to come out of the pot. It needs a really good treatment of some sort, and it needs to be repotted. And the last one here is Phragmipedium Memoria Dick Clements. So it is clearly looking a little bit sad. You can see, like if you have a look, it's got a root system in there. Like it's been growing roots nicely. But that's the newest growth, and it doesn't look good. It has been infected with bugs, maybe it was scale or something in the past. It's just something not quite right, so it needs to come out and it needs a treatment as well. Now the question is, how am I going to treat these orchids? On YouTube there have been some videos of people using bleach treatments, and I think of note, Ed from Ed's Orchids uses a bleach treatment. I think there's a video out there from Rachel at Gardening Doenza, and they seem to swear by it. My issue with it is the instructions are to put water in a bucket and to put enough bleach in there and mix it up until it foams. Now, that's not really like a quantity, and I'm pretty sure if you put like a whole bottle of bleach in there, it would foam. And that is like not what I want to do. And in fact, I'm a little bit scared of bleach. I don't even use it in the home. Look, let's try it out. I'm willing to give it a go. However, I am going to use a very low quantity of it. I'm also going to use an antifungal though, a systemic antifungal. I'm going to use a little combination of both. Let's get started and unpot these orchids. Alright guys, so shall we just get my poor little Paphiopedilum out of the way and see what's going on? Look at this poor little thing. I feel so sad for it. It had really pretty blooms that have worked out. But yeah, there we go. And I'm really surprised. Look. Here's a dead root. That is dead. However, this root is stiff. Now I am confused. It is, oh my god, you have to look at this. It is hanging on by a thread. It's hanging on by a thread, but with a nice firm root like this, how can I throw it away? I just don't know. What am I going to do? Okay, well, I think I'm going to... I think I'm going to have to try and rescue this guy. It's got a viable root. What can I say? What can I do? Okay, so I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna give it a little spray with some hydrogen peroxide, and well, we're just gonna repot this little baby and see what happens. It desperately just needs to grow some new roots, but yeah, that was really loose in the pot. So what I'm going to have to do is when I pot it, I think I'm just going to have to pot it a little bit higher up, so it's at least stable in the pot. I might even have to somehow stake it so it doesn't move about, but yeah, if you can see, but you know, there are little weird nubbins there. What's sort of disheartening is that it's just done nothing for so long. So yeah, and you can see, like, you know, this leaf is going yellow. It does not look good. It doesn't really look like it's absorbing that much in the way of nutrients or anything like that. But I just don't have the heart to throw it away yet. I have a feeling that it wasn't a particularly cheap purchase either. These sorts of Paphiopedilum hybrids usually come at a little bit of a cost, so yes, I am going to try and save this one, and it's going to get repotted. Alright guys, we're all washed up, new set of gloves. We're going to do Gladys next. A little no ID Phalaenopsis. And it's not looking very pretty, I must say. Alright, let me show you up close. So all these roots are dead here. It's got a couple of okay, live roots, but looking not very happy. And it's got like this aerial root up here. It's got just a couple of smaller, cleaner looking roots up here. And this is the section that I'm concerned about. This whole area here is pretty dead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop it off. I think I'm going to chop it up past the point of these roots, because if you can imagine, look, I don't think these bottom leaves are going to last too much longer, and if I pot it and keep these roots, it's going to be extremely high in the pot, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know, it's struggling anyway. I really want to see what's inside this stem, so I'm just going to bite the bullet. I actually have never seen the blooms on this plant. It was a gift to me, and yeah, I feel some sort of responsibility to save it, but at the end of the day, it is just a no ID Phalaenopsis. So yeah, now obviously all my tools are sterilized. I don't know, I make a habit of sterilizing my tools after I use them, after every plant, and I still sterilize them before, but actually make it a habit to do it after. I kind of look at it like, you know, if you're gonna use a plate and cutlery and eat off it, you're gonna wash them straight after. You're not gonna like leave them for ages and then wash them just before you use them again. That analogy seems to make sense in my head, but you know, I'm not sure if it makes sense to anyone else. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, see if that helps. Alright, and hopefully you guys can sort of see what I'm doing. But yes, let's cut here first, which is a little bit lower. Look at what's going on. I'm just going to chop off some of these dead bits as well. Dead flower spike here, which I'm going to cut off. That's the stem there, and it doesn't look all that horrible. I wonder if you can see that there is a leaf that's fallen off there, and the part that I'm worried about really is in there, and there were some mealybugs and stuff hiding in there. So I wonder if I can like just carefully peel that back. Sorry, I keep coming out of frame. So I'm just going to carefully peel that back. The problem sometimes is like, you know, you get quite a weak orchid, and the roots that try to come out can't pierce through the leaves, so they get a bit caught. And it causes all sorts of problems. So I'm going to soak this in some antifungal solution. I seriously don't think I'm going to use a bleach treatment on this one, maybe just the antifungal, because I think it just had a few little maybe mealybugs there. I think a lot of the problem in there might be like a slight fungal infection. I honestly think bleach would probably be a bit too far for this struggling little orchids. Yep, I'm going to spray it with some hydrogen peroxide first into all the nooks and crannies, let that settle, and then I'm just going to dunk the whole thing in some antifungal solution for maybe half an hour or so. Just to show you, I did take off 2 of the bottom leaves that fell, just because I found some mealybugs in there, and this is what I do. So I've got just plain water in here and just a little capful of the systemic antifungal that I use, and I just let it sit in there for a while. Alright, so I have sterilized everything. You must sterilize your equipment between each plant. Okay, so I have rubbed these guys in alcohol, I have flamed them so they are sterilized and clean, and these are new gloves, and I have even washed this. Better safe than sorry. It takes like, you know, 30 seconds of your time. But anyway, moving on. Next is my Phragmipedium. So let's zoom in just a little bit. And I'm really sorry, it's a bit of a weird angle and stuff that I'm doing stuff at, so I'm really sorry if I'm out of view every now and again. But anyway, this is Memoria Dick Clements. This is a Phragmipedium that I had wanted for such a long time, and I finally got my hands on it last year. Yeah, I'd have to look up how much I paid, but it really would have been around the $200 Australian mark. Like, these guys are not cheap, so I'm going to try my very, very best to save it, and luckily I do have a root system in there. But we really need to find out what's going on. So give me a little bit of a squeeze, and let's get it out of the pot. Can you guys see little white specks through there? Like, I have got perlite in there, but actually that's not perlite, that is mold. So there is mold in this pot. So let's get that out. So that's problem number 1. There may be more than one thing going on with this plant, but let's continue on trying to get to the bottom of it. There's just a couple of dead roots, but actually the other roots are okay, and look here, there is an active root tip there, so the root system's not too bad. So I'm just going to get out this medium. We are going to give this one the bleach treatment because I am willing to give anything a shot for this. Just trying to get rid of as much sort of dead tissue as I can. That little mass there is all dead. So all in all, I mean the root system on this is much better than I could have anticipated. But in the center here is like a lot of just, I don't know, blackness, you know, but the roots still seem to be growing out of it. So let me just clean it up a bit. I won't bore you with it, I'll fast forward through it, but I'll clean up as much of like the sort of dark dead tissue as I can. I will sort of give it a rinse and a spray, and let's make up our little solution for this plant. Okay guys, so I think I've got cut off as much of that dead tissue as I can, and I've been quite careful not to like break off any growths. Let me show you. There is like a little growth starting up there, and I have to show you this little area in there. Can you see? Like, I'm pretty sure that's mold in there. So yeah, I'm going to give this a rinse, and what I'm actually going to do is unpot the other one as well, and then we'll mix up this bleach solution. And here we go guys, the last one, this Cattleya. I've taken off some of the stakes and ties that were holding it. Oh, look at that. No roots at all. Poor little guy. It's not got much going for it, does it? Hang on. It's got short roots, which are actually, some of them are alive. But yeah, let me just clean this out and we'll see what's alive and dead. We'll chop off some of these, the dead roots in there. Alright, let me give this guy a rinse. I'll be back. Alright guys, well, this is what's left of the plant. These are the good roots, and I have actually chopped off some of the back bulbs. And I will show you here, but that is a nice ring there, and this plant probably has some fusarium. So what I am going to do is cut off a few more pseudobulbs. So this is what I usually do with my fusarium plants. I chop as many sort of affected pseudobulbs as I can, but I make sure to leave at least a few at the front, and I stop at a point where either there's only 3 or 4 canes left, or the point where the canes start actually having some viable roots. So I'm going to cut a few more canes, and then what I'm going to do is soak it in antifungal solution. Well, actually this one's going to get the bleach treatment as well, but in general for fusarium plants I put them in some systemic antifungal, and I soak them for a while, and I pot them up and just treat them with a bit of TLC. Obviously I isolate them and I water them very separately to all my other orchids, but yeah, look, most of them pull through. You know, there's a lot of fuss over fusarium, but at the end of the day it's a fungal infection. It's a rot at the base of the plant that affects the rhizome. Fusarium wilt is a systemic infection that ends up causing, like, obviously wilt, and it affects the whole plant. But yeah, this guy definitely has some rot through its rhizome, so I'm going to cut back a few more canes. I probably won't be left with a huge plant left, but it'll get put into a much smaller pot with a much, I guess, airier, drier, large bark medium, And yeah, so I'll be back. I'm going to come back and we're going to mix up, I don't know, improvise this bleach fungal solution together, and we're going to soak these orchids. This is not going to be an actual repotting video. That's not really the point of this video. It was really to have a look at the struggling orchids and see what was wrong with them and maybe try and figure out a bit of a solution. Okay, so I have a tub of water here. This is like a, it says it's a 13-litre tub, so it's about half full, so it's about 6 litres, and I'm totally guessing what I'm doing here. So with the antifungal solution, it does have like a dose for ornamentals, which is 5 mils per litre, but it's actually meant to be used as a foliar spray. So I've always sort of just halved it, and I usually just guess, like when I say like for this orchid, I've just used like a capful, but for the purposes of this, if I'm guessing, it's about 6 litres, then 2.5 mils per litre. That makes it roughly like, I don't know, 9 mils. So I've got a syringe and we will put 9 mils into here. Okay, cool. So 9 mils of antifungal solution, and how much bleach should I use? Well, I don't know. All I know is that I'm wearing some heavy duty gloves, I've got some safety goggles on, and we are going to probably just use, let's say, like a bit less than a quarter of a cup. This is roughly 1 cup, so I'm just going to pour a little bit in. It's just like barely a quarter of a cup in there, and we'll put that solution in. Give it a bit of a mix, hey? So, that whole thing, a bit of a mix. Put the cap back on the bleach, and I've got 2 big containers here, so we are going to fill each one and chuck an orchid in. The Cattleya, and we'll pop that in first. Just put a little bit more in, and of course after that's been in there for a little bit, we will flip the plant upside down and get the leaves in that solution as well. And I've got my Phragmipedium, which I'm just gonna dunk in there as well. Alright, look, I don't know if the bleach reacts with the antifungal or whatever, like, don't ask me. Consider this an experiment, and yeah, I think it's good to know how some people deal with these things. We all have issues with orchids that aren't performing well. Everyone has problems with rot issues. We all have problems with plants that go downhill every now and again, and I think the key is just having a look inside the pot, trying your very best to find out what's going on with it, and treating it, especially if it's a pest or an infection or something. So that's the plan. I am going to soak these guys for a bit. I will pot them up and I will show them to you once they're potted up. Well, it's the next day, everyone, and I did end up repotting all the orchids last night, but I was just a bit too tired. I suppose I have to apologise because, you know, like, this might have been a better video separated if I had done them all separately. Instead it's ended up as, I suppose, a fairly long video, but let me show you what I did with them. So this is the little Phalaenopsis, and I ended up pretty much ripping off all the bottom leaves, so it's only really got those 3 leaves left. Anyway, there were mealybugs on it, so I actually took the bottom leaves off, and there were little infestations of mealybugs down there, so that's all been treated. It's a much smaller plant than it was, and it is certainly going to be a recovering plant, but it is in my usual foul mix. So my premix that I use various grades of a premix of bark, charcoal and perlite, and I mix in a certain amount of sphagnum. So I do mix in about 1/3 of sphagnum for my foul mixes, so that's that one, and it's obviously in a much smaller pot as well. And this is the Paphiopedilum that almost ended up in the bin, but yeah, it's been potted up as well into a small bark mix with some sphagnum in it, so we'll just have to see how that goes. Both of those two actually got some rooting gel put on it. This is stuff I've had for a while. I don't use it very often, but I just pasted a whole lot onto the base of both of those orchids for whatever it's worth. Hopefully it'll stimulate something or other, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. These are the other two. So this is the little Cattleya. It got quite a few back bulbs chopped off, and it got the improvised bleach and fungicide solution. The whole plant was soaked in it, so both the top and the bottom of the plant was soaked in it, and it's been potted in a fairly large bark mix. It actually does have a tiny bit of sphagnum through it, not very much at all though. It's just because, you know, I've got like a mix there and I had a little bit of sphagnum, so I just used that up. But yeah, it's potted fairly high in the pot. And it has been, yeah, soaking. It soaked for quite a while in that fungicide solutions and bleach solution. This is the Frag. So it's in a small grade bark mix with about 50% sphagnum. So it's a fairly water retentive mix still, and it's been in that same solution, obviously in a different pot, but you know, so it's had the bleach and hang on. Hello, did you want to come outside, Frankie? There you go. So yeah, it's had that solution. So yeah, we'll just see how these guys go. If you're wondering the other stuff I use, well, after I potted them up, they all get soaked in some osmosis water and Super Thrive. If you're also wondering, this is the fungicide solution that I use. It's called Rid a Rot. It's systemic, and the active ingredient is this phosphoric acid. So, you know what, I really don't know much about fungicides, but yeah, that's the one that I use. So yeah, and we will follow the progress of these guys. We'll see how they go. I really want to preface that this is like an experiment. I've never used bleach before. I promise I will follow these up in a couple of months, and you will know whether, you know, the things I did were effective in any way, or if they're a complete failure. And if it's a complete failure, I'll be putting a massive big red warning on this video saying, just, yeah, don't do what I did. Because who knows, you know, I used a fairly, I would say, weak solution of the bleach. I know that the videos I've watched in the past, they use quite a lot of bleach, and I am just not happy with using that much. So thanks for joining me. I'm really sorry if this video dragged on for a lot longer than anticipated. I seem to be miserably failing since I got back at making like brief videos. In fact, most of my videos, I think, are over 10 minutes anyway, so, and you guys still watch them. But yeah, that's why I try and post like every few days, so at least people who are time poor can split the videos up and continue watching the next day. But Anyway, please give this video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos. I gained about 8 kilos on my honeymoon, so I am having my breakfast, which is this low-calorie shake. So I'm going to enjoy that, and I hope you guys have a great morning too. So happy growing until I see you next time. Bye!